Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We are very pleased to announce today that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including the Department of General Services and the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, have chosen to build a new state archives building right here in Harrisburg. And if you look behind me, you will see that we have a multi-acre site that stretches all the way from 6th Street all the way down to 7th Street and goes that way towards Harris and that way towards Hamilton Street. It's a very large footprint. DGS was particularly excited about this site because it is outside of the 100-year floodplain, and it gives them the space that they need to be able to develop and grow and build something really important here. When I took office about 2.5 years ago, I was told by the then Governor Corbett and then Secretary of DGS that this was not going to happen, that they were going to build a new archives, but it was going to be in the suburbs off Elmerton Avenue. It was a done deal. It was over. When Governor Wolf was elected, he reversed course and he said he wanted to see all of his departments investing and building in the city. And so first and foremost, I want to thank Governor Wolf for his leadership. I also want to thank the Department of General Services for working so well with the city, and also the Vartan Group for quietly amassing this parcel. One of the reasons it can be built here is because they have slowly but surely purchased all of these properties, and I'm pleased to say that no homeowners are going to be displaced because of this building. There are a couple parcels left to purchase, but they are essentially empty lots that face back along the 7th Street corridor, and those will be purchased at fair market value, and that's still in negotiations. This project represents over $20 million of new construction in the city of Harrisburg. When you couple that with the almost $30 million that was recently announced by the federal government to be earmarked and targeted for Harrisburg, you're looking at over $50 million of investment right here in this important transitional corridor for the city, all happening over the next several years. We're going to spend the next year designing the new archives building. We're very excited about that. And once it is fully designed, we'll then break ground, and we hope to break ground sometime towards the end of next year. So imagine about a 1-year design process, then breaking ground late next year, and then about 2 years to build what will be an amazing building. We're looking at probably around 3 stories. It should be a building which works well with the streetscape, is tied into the city's comprehensive plan, and is a real treasure and asset to the community. And I want to announce today as well that we're going to be having a public meeting to get the public's input on what they'd like to see in a new archives building next week on May 4th at 5 o'clock. And I'm told the way to remember that is that it's Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you at 5 o'clock right up at the firehouse down on 6th Street. So hopefully people will come out and give us their thoughts and opinions. There's also another exciting component to all of this, which is near and dear to my heart. Some of you may know that my father was the Maryland State Archivist for 40 years until he recently retired. And he built a new archives building in Annapolis, Maryland. And when I took office, I was very concerned about the state of the city's records, the city's archives. They were being stored then in the parking garage. We were told that we had to get them out of there because the city had sold its parking assets. And we're talking about unique, wonderful records from the past 200 years that document the tax assessments and the birth records and the death records and everything that you could possibly want to know about your family's history or genealogy or the history of your home or your neighborhood in the city of Harrisburg. But those records weren't accessible. They were basically piled in large stacks. And one of the things which the state has agreed to is a new MOU with the city and the PHMC in which the state archives will now take control of that collection. We will put it on deposit in the archives, and they will put it in climate control and make it accessible to the public. And that's a tremendous savings and monetary value to the city. It means we don't have to hire an archivist, we don't have to climate control or store these records. They will do that for us, and it's a great sort of subset of this larger announcement. It's also important because a good archives connects to the community. We're here in the middle of a neighborhood. It's rich in history, and now people can come and use this building, use this facility, perhaps use a community room here to really connect with the history of the Commonwealth and the history of the city of Harrisburg. So all of that is happening. We couldn't be more excited. I have other details. I'm joined by a distinguished group who can talk a little bit more about the project. But let me open it up to questions at this point.
Who's paying for it, and when will it get underway?
So the Commonwealth is paying to construct it. It's going to cost over $20 million, and they using bond proceeds to build the archives. We hope to break ground, literally shovels in the ground, by the end of next year. And the project has not been designed yet. All we're announcing is that the lot has essentially been amassed, the site has been chosen, and we will now go through a design phase in which they will hopefully build a building which really works. Great economic development stimulates other economic development. So we see this as having a positive ripple effect on this whole corridor. There's a lot across the street, which is ripe for development. There are lots all the way down 6th Street that could be developed. And once you see the Commonwealth putting in a $20 million investment, that should attract private investment to the area too. So we can talk about jobs in a couple different ways. First of all the jobs at the state archives are going to stay in the city of Harrisburg, and we're happy about that. They're not going to go to Susquehanna Township. But then this building itself, the construction of this $20 million plus project, will generate a lot of jobs, and that'll be good for the city as well.
What's the total acreage of all the parcels here?
It's over 2 acres. Let me get you the exact amount, but one of the reasons they chose this site was because it did have enough space upon which to build. Between 2 and 3 acres, right? Okay, so it's almost 3 acres.
What about the square footage? You said 3 stories. How big of a building do you expect?
They are still working on design. Now, if you know the archives now, it's this massive tower, a windowless tower in the downtown. They have to have room for everything that's stored there, plus room to grow. They want this built. The last archives building has lasted 50 years. They want this one to last at least 50 plus years. So they need to build a building which can contain all that material, have room to grow for the next 50 years, and as a result, they haven't quite decided on how high the building will go. The city was adamant it didn't just want, you know, a one-story sort of strip mall-like structure. It wanted something of interest, something that rises up on the streetscape. So you're looking at, you know, at least 2, probably 3, you know, possibly even 4 stories of construction, and that will be part of the design phase. The city's going to work with the designers, and the public can start to give input as early as next week at our meeting on May 4th.
You talked about the Corbett administration wanting to take it to Susquehanna Township. The Wolf administration kind of swooped in, saved it, left it in the city. Is there anything that could potentially derail this project from happening now again? Politics or anything like that?
No, we're good to go. The site has been acquired and the land amassed. The Department of General Services did issue an RFP for the site selection. That process occurred sort of quietly because they were, you know, concerned that there might be speculation if it were done too publicly. That has been completed. Again, there's still a couple parcels left, that's all, and then the design phase is underway. It's been funded already, the project, so it's going to happen, and it will happen much more quickly than the federal courthouse will happen, but it will be done here within the next 3 years, and hopefully the courthouse will continue its design phase and will be ready to build right upon the completion of this project. It absolutely does. As you know, 7th Street is one of the underutilized corridors of the city. We've recently started a traffic study. Our engineer and those surveyors were aware of the potential archives project. The archives itself is looking to have space for tractor trailers and other types of loading docks off 7th Street, so that's a part of it. And 6th Street as well is an important underutilized street that we think it will have certainly positive traffic implications there. The average archives visitor, I am told, is generally somebody who comes in to do research, perhaps family research, and usually stays for at least the whole day, maybe a couple days. So you're looking at somebody who's going to possibly stay in a hotel, certainly going to eat in the city and experience the city, and we're excited about that. The old building is, the future is not quite determined at this moment. Spoke to the state archivist today. He said they were going to evaluate some different options One option I know that's under consideration is that they may use it for storage associated with the State Museum of artifacts and other things. The State Museum is very much staying. What's moving is the archives, and that's usually the printed records and the digital records. They have a lot of digitized records, which and that's another reason that they're happy to be sort of near the IT infrastructure of the Capitol. I should say one more thing, and this is a good thing for the city. The Capitol Police footprint will also be extended to include the archives building. We've got a great relationship between the Harrisburg City Police and the Capitol Police, and they are looking forward to contributing to the safety of the area. I don't know the names of who the Commonwealth has selected, but hopefully they'll be there and able to meet the public at the May 4th meeting. Okay, well, thank you for coming out. Beautiful day. And I'll just say one more thing. So it's shaped like an L. It goes down that way and then all the way down that way. It does not include that little row of houses back there. Parking would be towards that direction, and then the front of the building would be on 6th Street, and the back would be all the way down on 7th Street. The Legion building is not required for the project, but I know there is some interest on the part of the Legion to sell, and the state would consider buying, but it is not necessary to purchase that property to build the archives.